Good evening, everybody. My name is Kelly Chun. If I've not met you before, I am a brand partner with a company called Partner Co. We are a global health and wellness, really nutrition company. And we are established in over 50 countries around the world. But our goal really is and our mission, the mission of the company, is to power health and prosperity around the globe. Now, that's a powerful statement. And I actually kind of was introduced to this company through a friend of mine who called me about an incredible opportunity. And at that time, we certainly needed the income. I am a nurse practitioner and I make great money in that business. But my husband had gone through a couple of very difficult health challenges a few years ago, and we were still carrying debt from those really hard times that tried us financially and emotionally and physically and spiritually in every way you can imagine. And so I was needing the income, but I was hesitant, I'll be honest, initially because being from healthcare, I'm always careful about um, how and what I affiliate myself with in the public because it takes a long time to build a respectable reputation, especially in healthcare. Um, and you really can ruin it by making a statement that someone misinterprets or misunderstands or recommending a product that may not live up to the standards you would really like to promote. So I was careful and I was very diligent in my research about the products initially and then about the company. And I could tell you, I could just share all night about that. I won't, because I want to be respectful of your time. But I will say that it's a great place to be. Our products, one of our gateway products, we actually have a portfolio of over 100 products that we can promote all over the world. But our gateway product, I refer to it as that, is our body balancing drops. And one reason I refer to that as our introductory product, so to speak, is the fact that they have so many health benefits. And people can take them if they have been through puberty, through the lifespan, unless they are pregnant or nursing, and they are not harmful to the mother or the baby, but we don't want to actually impact the hormones that these are formulated to really target. And that is the hormones of metabolism. I get so excited when I talk about this because those hormones are often overlooked. I had a conversation with someone today that had just had a dramatic health change after implementing this system into their life using this particular product. Um, and I told her, she had really been suffering with a lot of hormone imbalances and all the symptoms that come with. And if you are in my age group, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but she had been on all the things, all the prescription hormones, and so many of the replacement therapies that are out there, yet was not getting good relief and good control of her symptoms until she was introduced to this particular product. And those are our body balance and drops, as I said. The hormones of metabolism are often overlooked and untreated and untargeted and not discussed as much as they should be. Um, when we are discussing hormones and so many of the symptoms that come along with that, such as yes, hot flashes and night sweats. If, like I said, if you are with me in the age, you know what I'm talking about. But also just a sluggishness, a fatigue that you can't really articulate well. You may or may not be, you may be sleeping more, you may be sleeping, not sleeping at all. All of that actually can be a result of some of these hormone imbalances. Um, you may have a spare tire that we call it. It's that menopausal belly that so many of us develop as we age, yes, but also with our standard American diet. So the standard American diet, SAD, is called the SAD diet in healthcare. That's how we refer to it. They're talking about standard American diet, but it is a SAD diet. It's very over processed. It is sugar laden. It is also full of fillers and toxins and artificial colors and sweeteners and things that actually impact our hormones of metabolism and further disrupt everything. Um, so in using these drops, and they are just drops you put under your tongue 3 times a day, actually target the belly fat, the visceral fat. That's the most dangerous part of fat that we develop in our body. And it impacts other hormones of metabolism, including our insulin, which of course impacts blood sugar. It impacts inflammation in the body. Um, our gut hormones, leptin and ghrelin, those are hormones that tell us when we're full, when we're hungry, um, and actually help to um, moderate the body in so many different ways. And our cortisol. Cortisol, you'll see once you start looking at this and doing any research at all, you'll start seeing it everywhere on social media, on the internet, because it's just coming to the top of everybody's attention. It has recently been, and it's not a fad. This is actually biology. Cortisol is our stress hormone, and we have to have some degree of it. But when you live in a constant stress state, whether that be physical, it can be emotional, it can be like stress. You always hear people say that stress is a killer. It is because it impacts this cortisol. Um, and it can disrupt uh, the metabolism for a very superficial answer. I would love to go into depth with this, but tonight, if you have questions, I'm happy to stay after and answer any questions you have. I can talk about this, like I said, all night. It's one of my favorite subjects right now, if you can't tell. But tonight, one goal I had tonight was to share with you a very special guest and her testimony. She actually started, I met her through this business. She actually showed up at an event I was at, and someone asked her to share her testimony about and her health journey with these products. And I was blown away. And so since then, Lee and I have actually become great friends. She is someone whose courage and determination really shine bright in everything she does. She has faced some challenges, which she will share with us some about tonight, um, and has not stopped. She has not stopped. As a matter of fact, not only has she not slowed down, but she has found a way to really thrive through those challenges and is also helping to uplift other people. And so I want her to share her life change. Her story is so powerful. It's resilience, it's hope, it's empowerment, and that's what we're all about here. Um, so her journey really is proof that with the right tools and a community that continues to lift you up as well, I think that's very important. If you've ever, and this is just I can't help but tell it, if you've never watched the documentary about blue zones, go and look it up. It's on, I think it's on YouTube. It's probably on Amazon Prime. But it's a documentary about blue zones all over the globe where people have the longest lifespans, healthy lifespans, because one of our chief medical officer, actually, with the company, Dr. Ray Strand, you can look him up as well. He is very well versed in our system. He is one that formulated these drops that are one of our products that we'll talk about. But and he has books everywhere. Wherever you buy your books, you can find his books. Dr. Ray Strand, just like a strand of hair, Strand. One of his favorite quotes I've ever heard him actually say is that in current day, we actually tend to live too short and die too long. And think about that, because what we want is to flip that on its head and really begin to live long and live well and live with vitality. And that is what Lee is going to share with us tonight. So welcome tonight. my friend and colleague in this business, Lee Moss.
Thank you, Kelly, so
We are
much.
so glad to have you tonight. I'm going to see if I can highlight you here. I'm not sure if I can do that. If not, we'll just proceed. So, Lee, can you share a little bit about your health journey that brought you to these products? How did it start and what made you start looking for some answers?
Well, I appreciate you having me on here because anytime I can help somebody else, that's what I want to do. And Parkinson's is growing at an alarming rate. By 2030, it is supposed to double. And so we have a big job ahead of us. But going back to my story, back in 2018, I started having severe back pain. And at the time, I was the director of the Brain Injury Association of Mississippi, and I had been since 2007. So one doctor led to another and led to another. And finally, in July of 2021, I got a diagnosis of stage one Parkinson's and scoliosis. And of course, honestly, it was a complete surprise. I don't have tremors. I have a little bit now, but at the time I didn't have any. And so I didn't have any symptoms of Parkinson's. So when the doctor came back and said that, I was like, I came to find out what's wrong with my back. I didn't, but anyway, um, I was diagnosed, and it really was a shock. And so I decided to go ahead and retire at the end of 2023 and just get ready for whatever was to come because one doctor was telling me in 2 years I'd be in a wheelchair, which honestly is about ridiculous. I wish they would not do that.
I do
But
too. Yeah,
having been at the Brain Injury Association for 17 years, I was used to that. So, and I told him, I said, please don't tell anybody else that because you really don't know where anybody's going to be. And you just don't.
that's
And
right.
so, anyway, I didn't know what the road ahead looked like, but I knew that I needed to get ready. So, I retired in 2023. Um, Fast forward to February of 2024, I was actually sitting in my house talking to my hairdresser, Susan Cleland, who is also the person who got me into the business. And I was telling her that I was about to get rid of all the sugar and processed food in our diet. And because I'd read a book that said that those things were causing Alzheimer's and other chronic diseases. And she kind of looked at me funny and I said, you know what? It's going to be really hard for me to give up sugar because I love ice cream. And y'all, I still love ice cream. But anyway, ironically, Paula Brown, who is also in the business, had called Susan earlier that day and said, I've got some drops and they really are all about eating healthy and this or that, but also about weight loss. And so Susan told me that. I said, let's look them up. So we did. We ended up buying the drops and, saying, let's just go for it, see what happens. Well, in 5 days, my sugar cravings were gone. And that was amazing. That had never happened before, no matter what I had done to try to lose weight. I always still had to fight the urge to,
Mhm.
eat ice cream and chocolate in particular. But said, these things really have something in them. I mean, they really are good. And so I told Susan, I said, I think I'm going to sell them. This is going to be the business that I jump into. And so my husband Joe and I started the drops at the same time. We both have lost about 25 pounds and have been able to keep it off for over a year. Joe has lost 8 inches in his gut. And just like you were talking about visceral fat and how dangerous that is, he was never a big guy. It wasn't like that. He just had the middle. And
Mhm.
so I'm really proud of him for getting for losing that because the more we've learned about the body, the more we know how dangerous a lot of different things are that we might not ever have known before. And So anyway, I'll be 65 next month. And honestly, I feel like I'm about 10 years younger. Some days I feel 20 years younger, some days I don't. But since I started doing the drops, I swear I've felt so much better all over. And after I'd lost the weight that I wanted to lose, I actually stopped taking the drops for a month just to see if I would gain it back or whatever, and I didn't gain a single pound back, but what I did miss was the energy. And so I'm never going without the drops. I'm planning on being on them from now on. The energy, the great sleep, the good moods, the no brain fog. Just I don't know. I don't get all stressed out. You were talking about stress. People, things that used to stress me out somehow now I'm just kind of like, oh well, oh it's going to be fine, and I don't know. I just have more peace, I guess you would say.
I hear that from so many people talking about that. I've got some friends that had struggled with anxiety. And that's just a way that they kind of manifest coping with stress is with anxiety type symptoms and had been medicated, for many years for that. And it's just herbs. It's natural Ayurvedic herbs in our drops that actually have an impact on that. And of course, that cortisol, of course, also can, when you have high stress, that cortisol goes up, and so it's a snowball effect. And you did actually mention one that's one of my favorites that I experienced too, was the brain fog. I mean, I would just put things off because I had this, and I know I'm not the only one because I see memes about it on social media, where you start one thing and then in a minute you're watering a plant and then you're making a dentist appointment and then you'd never actually finish anything because you can't really focus clearly and finish a task. And that's been huge for me with the drops. Even at work, I can tell that I'm more focused, I'm more calm dealing with all the stressors at work. Um, so yeah, when you said there's something to these drops, these herbs and the homeopathic blend of those natural herbs are just almost feel like they're magical because they're so effective and they're so well tolerated. Um,
Yes.
and I think that's a huge plus too, because people are always worried about, they don't have any stimulants and they don't actually contain any hormones. People are always apprehensive about something that contains hormones, and these do not, and things that have stimulants that make you feel jittery. A lot of quote diet products, which this is not. Um, but people just from our before and afters that we post on social media sometimes come here looking for the side effect of weight loss and expect it to have some type of stimulant in it, and these do not. So that's a great point you made. Um, so how would you, I mean, I can imagine when you were diagnosed with Parkinson's without symptomatology, not looking for an answer to those, to something like that, to be blindsided with that diagnosis. Anything that's a chronic diagnosis is always a shocker and disturbing. Um, and I know that had to be quite a shock when you were looking for an answer for back pain and then were diagnosed with Parkinson's. Um, so you talked about in 5 days, your sugar cravings were gone. That is amazing, but we hear that all the time. I hear people say, in the first week I had all this energy and I wasn't sitting down when I came home from work. And but how would you say that these small changes end up being so monumental? So how would you say that those changes really influence day-to-day life, like you were talking about with your energy and your outlook?
Well, I think that by cutting down the cravings for sugar and also for carbs, for, processed food, that I changed my entire diet for Joe and I both. And Joe is from Raleigh, Mississippi. He grew up eating fried everything, potatoes, rice, and bread with every meal. I mean, he's typical. And my mom cooked like that too. So that's how we grew up. But, once those cravings were gone, um, we started craving chicken and fish and roasted vegetables. I mean, who ever thought that would happen? No, I never thought that would happen. But and my doctor, my Parkinson's doctor, is in Houston, Texas, and he is like the guru of Parkinson's. And every time I go, he's just like, Lee, what are you doing? What are you doing? At first, he was kind of joking about it. Now we really have a conversation about it. I took the drops with me and showed him the drops. I've sent him the information. But what I told him was the drops have allowed me to change my diet and get rid of sugar and processed food. And I really believe that has a whole lot to do with the fact that I haven't progressed. I really do believe that. What you put in your body is what you're going to get out of it.
Mhm.
And we've learned so much about sugar and how it's related to Alzheimer's. But Parkinson's is a neuro-related illness too. So I mean, they're all kind of in there together. And I think you take sugar out of there and a whole lot of things change. And it's kind of funny, Dr. Jankovic, he laughs at me because after I go 2 times a year, he'll do the testing and all that. And then I have to get up and walk and I've got to do my fingers and all this different stuff. Get through. He's like, the people in the waiting room think you're with somebody with Parkinson's. They have no idea that you've got Parkinson's. And I'm like, just knock on wood, because I know that could change. And, if you go by experience, it will change. I'm pretty determined that it's not going to change because I really believe, mind over matter has, and God, I mean, there's
Mhm.
anything can happen. So I'm not giving up on this deal yet.
And you talked about sugar. I absolutely agree with that 110%. It is so toxic to the body and it has devastating effects on the body. And I know I, I have certainly all my life just kind of been poisoning myself with a lot of that. And as you said, growing up in the South, my mother right now today wants me to have a dessert every time I'm at her house. She wants to know why I don't want that anymore. But I think we just grew up in such a way that we it's just this routine, and so we've got to break that, and we've got to break it not just for ourselves and our immediate family, but as we do that, y'all, that's my dog barking in the background. um as we do that, it's going to have an impact on us and our immediate family, but then it's also going to have an impact and a ripple out into our extended family and communities. And that's where the real lasting change comes. It comes from the generations. And also with Parkinson's and so many chronic illnesses, there are just micronutrient deficiencies that play such a big part. And I know you also use some additional products. Would you share with us some of the other products from Partner Code that you use to kind of fill in some of those deficiencies as well and to
I
support
will.
your body?
And one of the first things that stuck in my head, some of the little sayings that we have that we've learned since we've come to Partner Code, but one of them is you can spend money on wellness or you will end up spending money on illness. You can spend money on wellness or you will spend money on illness. And that stuck in my head. And so I have, I've got a list of things that I take. And some people might think it's spending a lot of money, but my opinion is I'd rather be spending it now on this and stay healthy longer. So um, my list, the first thing I started with, of course, were the drops. And I really believe the ashwagandha and the rhodiola are some of the most important things that you've got. And they seem to help me a lot. I really believe that. I think the Eastern medicine, there's a lot of value in what they do and what they use. I also take Limu every day. And Dr. Strand, of course, has approved my list of what I do. In fact, I put my list together and told him what I was taking. I was lucky enough to get about 15 minutes with him by myself. And he said, I wouldn't change a thing. And I was like, so impressed with myself to be able to figure this out. But anyway, the Limu has flacoidine in it, which is good for movement disorders. So Limu is definitely something that I do every day. I also take the MOA for inflammation. And, a lot, Parkinson's is not causing me any kind of pain, but the scoliosis is causing a lot of pain. And so inflammation has a lot to do with that. So I'm taking MOA. I drink noni. So I've got all three of the superfood juices. I take 6 Banali a day, and Dr. Strand was pretty adamant about that. So I take Renew, the Optimals, BioPro Q, which is for your brain and your heart, Omega Q, which is basically is the most important thing we have for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Magna-Cal D is, I just love Magna-Cal D. One of the most common symptoms that people with Parkinson's have is constipation, believe it or not. And when they start talking to you, when you first get diagnosed, they always ask about constipation. Almost everybody with Parkinson's has been having constipation issues for years. But of course, nobody would have put that together. Anyway, the Magna-Cal D, the magnesium in there actually helps that. Elite, and of course now I'm doing Everglow and Max 2O. And I read something today, an article about how important it is for collagen to be mixed with the right um, liquid. And so plain water is not what, I mean, you need to be adding something else to that. And because the Max 2O has electrolytes, it's supposed to be the perfect combination. So I was glad to hear that. But, that's pretty much what I take.
I love it. I am a huge fan of the Magna Cal D. Um, the the magnesium is so important for a lot of body functions, including, like you said, the digestive tract. I know in the hospital, in my practice, we treat magnesium deficiencies every day of the week. We have people who come in with arrhythmias, their magnesium's low. We have people who come in with bowel obstructions, their magnesium's low. So I'm a big fan of that. But the other key component about that Magna Cal D is it has the magnesium and calcium. It also has vitamin D3 and K2 all in one product. The K2 actually moves calcium to where you need it. It helps to get it back into the bone, um, rather than just taking extra calcium that is not with a K2 and a D3. It can sometimes deposit along the vessel walls and contribute to hypertension. Um, it can contribute to constipation if taken alone. So this is a magical um, combination. It is all the right things in there. Renew to promote that human growth hormone. It's good for everything from the strength of your teeth to um, bone and bone health and joint health, stability, muscle endurance, muscle recovery. Um, it's good for everything, including skin and hair, actually too. But it's good for the things that come along with what we think is aging. It's not normal aging, it's deterioration of the body because it's lacking those hormones and micronutrients. And so those were two of my favorites as well. Um, and that BioPro Q, I'm glad you said that because I just recommended that to someone um, who dementia runs in their family. So we put her on the drops because dementia will soon be referred to. We're one of the only countries on the globe that does not refer to dementia as a type 3 diabetes, and it's coming. It is insulin resistance of the brain. So all this really goes back to supporting cognition, and that human growth hormone and Renew is great for that as well. So those micronutrients, I would love to do a whole series diving deep into how important those micronutrients are. Um, I know we're running over just a little bit, Lee, but I also wanted to ask you, because of your success, tell me how you really came to the point of wanting to share this with everybody else. And what's one of the main, just give us one of the main ways you go about doing that in your everyday life.
Like you said, when I got diagnosed, it hit pretty hard because I had no idea. So, and then I find out I've got scoliosis, which I didn't have juvenile scoliosis or whatever. In fact, I don't think I had it until 2018. And so it's a double whammy. But you know, I guess because I was at the Brain Injury Association, I think God put me there before he gave me Parkinson's to
Hmm.
get me ready for what was coming, because the most important thing that we did there is support groups and getting people together that have the same thing. So the first thing I did when I found out I had Parkinson's is look for the Parkinson's support group. And they've got a really good group at First Baptist of Jackson, and they do not kickboxing, but boxing, and have support group meetings and that kind of thing. So I've gotten the information out to the people there. There's also another group at the Flowood YMCA. Yeah, I've done some posts about it. I'll talk to anybody about it. I've had a
Yeah.
lot of phone calls. So if anybody on this call, if y'all have anybody that has Parkinson's, please send them to me, because I mean, it's been 4 years since I was diagnosed. I think I've really had it more like 6 or 7 years,
Mm.
going back in and really thinking about it. And I mean, I'm still functional, and it's so much a mind thing. And like I said, the doctors can really make or break how that goes. And, the people need to know that you've got a long way to go. There are things you can do to make it better. You can take these supplements, you can get rid of sugar, you can get rid of processed food, you can exercise. We all have to exercise. If you sit there, you're going to get worse. That's just how I
Hmm.
mean, that's the same for everything,
For
but
everything.
yeah. But I'll talk to anybody. So I haven't written a book or anything yet, but I'm thinking about it.
I think you could for sure. I think you definitely could. Um, and so I I think, like you said, I do think mind plays such a big part of it, and our faith. At least for me personally, my faith plays such a big part in my everyday life. But I do think you experiencing the difference of in having the gift of observation with traumatic brain injury patients. Um, because you know that as well as I do, there's some people who just have tremendous just miracles in the way they recover and others don't. Some
Yeah.
of that, to some degree is, you can say is physiology, and the treatment they receive, the quicker they receive it, the timing of all that. But a lot of it is, like you said, faith and mind over matter. You can just decide that I'm going to be one of the ones who come out of this walking, and I'm going to be one of the ones who don't have the side effects. I'm going to be one of the ones who don't progress in Parkinson's 4 years to still be a stage one. I mean, that is amazement in and of itself. That's a
It is.
miracle. Yeah.
I, I don't know what I expected, but it's been different than I thought. And frankly, I'll talk to God all day long. All day, everything's about, I ask him questions before I do anything. And, it's not to say that I don't have things going on. I've got some issues going on, but overall, I'm doing really good.
Hmm. I was telling Lee before we started tonight that I had met her several times and through the business and through different events, and did not know she had a Parkinson's diagnosis. And I'm a clinician. Did not know she had Parkinson's until she stood up and shared her testimony that day at that event. And so that says a lot, I think, that you have so few symptoms that most people don't even recognize that you have it. So thank you so much, Lee. I mean, what a tremendous testimony. Um, I think your courage is a testament to just how you decided to tackle everything. I'm going to do what I can control the things I can control, and the rest um I will give over in faith. And
Yes.
such a powerful testimony. For anyone who is here, remember that you were invited to this, or someone shared this with you because they thought of you. And so cherish that. We are not here to profit off anyone. We are really, our hearts are to lift someone up. We have a great community, and community, again, in those blue zone areas, community is one of their pillars. And so I think that is so important, those support groups that Lee spoke of. So if Lee's story resonated with you, get back with the person who invited you to this. They can help you learn more about the products. If you know someone or have someone that you love and adore that has Parkinson's or some type of chronic illness, we do not diagnose, treat, or cure here. But I will say that we can find someone who has a similar story, and we can reach out to and help. And Lee, I've talked to her so many times about people with neurological type disorder similar to Parkinson's, about what she takes, and how it supports the body. The body is a healing machine when we give it what it needs. God knew what he was doing when he created this body. And so, if you feel called, even if the opportunity to share this with others, just like Lee is, then get back with that person who thought about you and thought enough of you to either get you here tonight or share this with you. We are about hope, health, and possibility. And so you don't have to walk through any challenge alone. So thank you again, Lee, and thank all of you for spending your time with us here tonight. Bye
Thank you
bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Trying to stop this recording.